everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have an interview with Ancil, a trader that joined me in just January of 2025, and it is now May 15th, 2025, and he has some pretty huge results. Ancil was somebody who already knew how to trade. He was trading options and he was making about 5K per month. But he also knew he didn't know how to trade down and that had been primarily trading in a bull market and knew if the market took a turn down, he would be screwed. Those were his words, not mine. So awesome thinking ahead on his behalf, because you really do need to think ahead if you are an options trader and know how to trade both directions. Ancil had really big dreams of releasing himself from his job in aerospace engineering and moving to Paris to live. So Ancil had lived in Paris to live before, and he really had a goal of returning to Paris. So again, we're gonna go to this video. It is going to be audio only. However, Ancil has this amazing thing that he does where he actually makes spreadsheets and maps out his life, maps out his options trading. This is from his engineering mind, where he likes to map out numbers and make business plans and things like that for his life. So in addition to listening to the audio, you can also go through this video, put it on mute, and read Ancil's plans. We're gonna start with a PDF that shows you what his goals were in March. It's crazy because he's accomplished most of them by May. Insane. Just to give you a little history on where he was at and how he was thinking about options, because if you are thinking about options, you should be thinking about it like it's a business, and Ancil did. And that is part of the reason he was so successful. The next PDF that's going to show up is going to be his options LLC, the plan for that and how that all works and how it's working so far. And there you'll be able to see a lot of his documented results as well. So to highlight what this video is going to go through, because I just did it with Ancil, so I'm going to tell you what we talked about. He talks about how he went from sometimes winning and sometimes losing in spreads to winning in spreads. Okay, huge change. The other thing that he did was he mastered the covered call and rollout. So he was really overlooking how powerful the covered call and rollout is. I find this on so many people. They try to be fancy, especially with like an engineering mindset. You're like, oh, I like how these things two move against each other, but simplicity is key. So from the covered call, he's been able to get himself like a base income, which has given him a large foundation to move ahead and feel really confident in some of his life choices that he's making. So he simplified the process. So in addition to making more money, which we'll go over in a second now, he also simplified what he's doing. So he doesn't have to think as hard. Is that amazing or what? This isn't a crazy result, but he went from $5,500 a month to $14,300 a month, and that is a 250% increase. And if you guys are just all saying to yourself, that's beginner's luck, no, it's not. What just happened in these 2 months? The market took a freaking nosedive. It went way down, and Ancil was still able to have his highest grossing months during those months because he learned how to trade down. And he learned that here in the Millionaire Mentorship Program. And then finally, you guys, Ancil is sort of living his dream life right now. He has quit his job. He went ahead and did it because he knows this is a sustainable system for him now. He is moving to Paris to live his dream. He's got like his apartment already rented out, and he has more time now to explore his hobby of drone video. Also, another thing that really happened for Ancil, which I think is great, is that he's making it to the gym more often and taking care of his physical health, which I know is a big goal that many of you have. So really, let's dive in. Let's go see what Ancil has to say for himself. Okay, so I am here today with Ancil. Ancil came into the Millionaire Mentorship Program, I want to say in like January or December 2024, 2025. Is that right, Ancil? Right about then?
Yeah, it was January.
Nice.
January.
Great way to kick off the new year. And so you and I both know that you now trade options full time, but let's just pretend that you still have your day job and tell us what it was. Where did you come from? What were you doing before?
So I was an aerospace engineer. A little bit of programming also. I spent some time doing that, but For 20 years, I've been an aerospace engineer.
Amazing. And so like what does the rest of your life look like? What do you do in your spare time?
Well, I guess we'll discuss that here is since we met and we'll talk about the catalysts, um, is now I have completely switched to a full-time trader.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what I do now. I still have time to pursue other pursuits. I think we talked about it in one of our mentorship meetings that I like doing videography and I can do that and traveling. So travel is, one of the other pursuits, but full-time trader, and full-time trader is not really full-time, right? You did for like, 3, 4 hours a day and then go take a walk and enjoy other things, other activities.
Yeah, I tried to schedule this meeting with you earlier in the day, and you're like, I'm normally at the gym 10 a.m., so I can't do it then. So is going to the gym more often also something that's become possible since you've started trading more?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You definitely get your time back, right? Because, we trade time for money. And don't get me wrong, what I was doing was wonderful and I loved it. After 20 years, I had good experiences and I got to do a lot of cool things. Uh, and that was kind of shaping my identity as well. Like you want to introduce yourself as an engineer. Um,
Mhm.
some point you want to get your time back and you want to take care of your health and you realize that there's a little bit more and loving to travel is something that I want to do and now I can take a vacation without being restrained by, oh, I only have 2 weeks for the year. No, I can go abroad whenever I want.
Yeah, 2 weeks is not enough vacation time anymore. Um,
Exactly.
so like, are you in your 40s then?
Yeah, I'm 49. I don't think I told.
49. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm 47. I was with a group of 10 girlfriends this weekend,
Mhm.
and a lot of the people were new to me and kind of went around the room and just met everyone and asked them what they do for a living. So many people were like, I'm quitting what I'm doing. I'm doing something different. I'm
Mhm.
investigating other things. There's something that happens to a lot of people at this age where we're like, enough of that other thing. I got to do something different. And it seemed like you were hitting that when I met you. And it seems like a lot of the people that I meet are hitting that sort of milestone in like their mid 40s to mid 50s. And they're just like, I hope options can be my thing to get me out of this other thing that I was doing. Was that what you were
Yeah.
hoping for too?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's something I probably haven't told you before is this is actually the second time I'm leaving my job. When I
Oh,
when I was 39, I left for Europe for 6 years. And it was part of the okay, am I going to go abroad and live when I retire or now when I have a little bit of health. And that sort of changed my perspective, living abroad and experiencing different culture and yeah, having more weeks of vacation is really eye-opening. So that was definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to go back, retire early as well. So
yeah. So we have like an application process here where people have to book a meeting with me. And then I ask them all these questions to make sure that the program would
mhm.
be appropriate for them, make sure they have a account size that would benefit from it, etc. And Ansel, in our meeting, started describing my dream life to me was that he wanted to start, become more refined with his options so that he could kind of like hang up his corporate job and then go into and live in France, if not part-time all the time, because you'd lived in France before. And I don't know how many
Yeah,
people know this about me, but I love France. And I was just like, you're describing
yeah,
what I want to me. So like we were brought together by some universal force of French love or something like that.
right, right, exactly.
Okay, so then tell me, how did you start trading? Because you knew how to trade before you
Yeah.
met me. You were just having sort of like, what would you say your results were like, or why did you know you needed help?
Yeah, so I started trading during COVID. Go figure. I opened up my first brokerage account in COVID. And my one of my coworkers just said, "Hey, I just made money on this options call." And then I had a roommate at the time, and he came on one day and said, "Oh man, I just made a good bit of money in a put." And reading a little bit about it, and I picked up a dense textbook that didn't really help. It was all gibberish. I learned a few things, but I didn't understand. And a year later, through YouTube, I was looking at another finance channel, and someone introduced another YouTuber that talked options, and I followed his channel, and it made a lot of sense. By that time, the influencers were just really, I would say, efficient at making really good presentations and explaining stuff, graphics that were really easy to understand. And as an engineer, I was able to like see like the profit and loss charts and be able to understand like what it means for a cash secured put, like the strike prices, you know, other influencer as well. And I took a free master class and they explained spreads and I understood it. And that's kind of an influencer that I use when I want to introduce anyone. I send them their video and I send them your video as well. Okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
So I think the YouTube and the education through YouTube got me started, and it just clicked. And then I started small. Like I didn't want to. A lot of people that I talk to, think it's gambling and they things a waste of time, or it takes too much time actually. And when I first started, I think back then you would probably think of, okay, I need a gig job, to do something. And I said, okay, if I can make a trade and pay for a cup of coffee, so like $5, that'd be worth it. And then that cup of coffee turned into like, if I can pay for dinner. I remember being at dinner and said, "Oh my gosh, I just paid for this dinner at $20." And then I looked my phone bill and I said, "Oh, can I pay for my phone bill?" And then 2 months later, it went from 100 to 1,000, and then I continued. And by the end of this was 2022, down market as well. So by year, I made like 10,000, and then I in total. And then I
In the
started.
total of 2022 or 2023, you made 10,000.
So
Oh,
then
you
in
cut out a little
2023,
bit. Sorry, you cut out one more time. So was it 2022 or 23?
2022, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got
So
it.
6 months. Um, and then so 2023, that's when I said, okay, it's new year. I'm going to, you know, um, exercise, do the trades that I've learned, track it, see what works, see what doesn't. And I had good success. It's easy when things are going up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only doing like cash secured puts, put credit spreads. I was losing a lot on call credit spreads. So that was one thing. Like in 2022 or 23, I'm like, I'm never going to do call credit spreads. Um, and I did that for 2023, made about 5,000 a month. For 2024, I made about 6,000. And then I, made some mistakes and covered calls. And at the end of 2024, I just did some tax loss harvesting. So I made a good bit of money, but I accepted some losses so that I can start again in 2025. And that's when I met you.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember getting on the phone with you and we were talking about those potential losses. And you were like, well, I don't know. I think I want to maybe hang on to these shares and not
Mhm.
financial advice, Ansel, but I was like, get rid
Yes.
of them.
Yeah.
Because it was in a
Yep.
stock
Yep.
that just wasn't uptrending and I was worried about you. And I remember you coming back like a month and a half later after we were into working with each other. And you're like, I'm so glad I sold those because they tanked even harder. And you said I
Yeah.
would have just had like a sick stomach in my feeling in my stomach had I kept them.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important is and that's why I wanted to play with real money. You really have to understand and be okay taking losses. And I think if anyone is thinking about it, you're not going to win every time, but
Mm-hmm.
it has a high probability, but you have to be willing to, take a loss. And I remember we were in yesterday's class, in our mentorship class, right? One
Mm-hmm.
person he wanted to roll out 6 months. And it's better to take $100 loss or $200 loss, and use that
Right.
money to put that capital to use. So the month of January, I met you. I cleaned up my strategies, and I was totally fine, like not making a whole bunch of money, just, focus on learning, focus on turning things around. And, that was my month to, change up the strategies.
Yeah,
So,
so I think the mistake you were telling me that you were making and that you were able to clean up is, first of all, your call credit spreads weren't working out. So you were
right,
able to learn a different refined way to do call credit spreads where we kind of break apart those trades and get in and out of them in a really clever way. And I'm not going to share how here, and I hope you don't either, because it's my secret.
right, right.
But like you did that. So that helped a lot. And then what were the other, I think you said yesterday when I talked to you that there was something else that sort of like you had like an aha moment. Oh, I remember what it was. It was that you knew how to make money when the market was going up, but you didn't know how when it was going down. And you felt like you were going to get
Yes.
slaughtered at some point when that
Yeah.
happened, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, those spreads, those put credit spreads. So it works really well when the market's going up. You look at, a stock like Microsoft or, Netflix, and it's going up. So you would make a lot of money on put credit spreads. But, you know, I I just knew that, okay, the market's not going to go up all the time.
No.
Need to know what to do now. And I had a plan, but it wasn't the best plan because I knew how I would get burned. I
Oh.
knew what I was going to do, but it would take more and more collateral to keep covering those put credit spreads as I'm like rolling down,
Hmm.
and I would actually increase the number of lots. And it takes more and more collateral. I was like, this is not going to be sustainable. Um, and again, when I saw your channel, what I think it was I don't know if this is a famous one, the one where you said, this is how I made 400K in one year,
Yeah.
20, and
Yeah.
the core like four strategies. But what I liked is not just the strategies, but the variations on the strategies.
Right.
And you have a playbook for when the market goes up, when the market goes down. And not only that, you do this when the markets go up to prepare for 2 weeks later when it goes down.
Yep.
And I love that you had, like you looked at the right stock picks, and you had several things running at once. So, when one thing goes up, the other one goes down, but you space those out. And that was kind of perfect timing, because then what happened in February?
What did happen in February? I can't remember, or April.
It went down, and so I switched to call credit spreads again, which I had sworn off for 2 years. And thanks to you, I started implementing them, and I implemented covered calls, which I knew that um, was a bread and butter for a lot of options traders, even
Hmm.
institutional covered call. And,
Absolutely. I'm meeting with I met with another trader this week who
mm,
he had amazing success last year too. And he was like, you just got me into doing covered calls more. And that's bread and butter. And I never realized how powerful that trade is. And the rollouts, man, the rollouts are amazing. But people try to be fancy. Like
yeah.
you're almost trying to be fancy with your spreads, like trying to like not get
Mhm.
a sign and like take money and run. But like you need a base in calls can be a base income, and from there you can put like gravy on top, and that's sort of like what we do. The other thing that we do in the Millionaire Mentorship
Yeah.
Program is that we have, when you sort of learn all of the trades, and there's sort of, I would say, Ansel, aren't there like 7 trades, and then each one has like anywhere from 2 to 5 variations depending on which way the market goes. And at the very end we tie it all together with this deck of cards that's like trades for up
Yes,
days and trades for down days. And you say that you use those all the time. So you go to the deck
I
of
do.
cards and you go like, hey, it's an up day. What trade should I put on? Waiting for the down day. And then when it's the down
Exactly.
day, you pull something from the deck of the cards and you go, hey, I'm going to place these trades waiting for the up day. But what I think is awesome about your results, and I'm just so proud of you, is that if we look at your January, Ancil makes these amazing PDFs. Let me cut to that first. Ancil makes these amazing PDFs where he plans out his life like he's a corporate officer running his corporate, like his corporation, and his corporation is his life. And so he's able to provide me with those for our one-on-one meetings, which is great. But he also made a different PDF to start a company. Now you're going to have an LLC that you're going to trade in, which is genius for many reasons. But you kind of mapped out what the LLC is going to be able to accomplish. And so in January, before you learned all these strategies, you made $5,300 in options trading. In February, when you got to implement these strategies, and it sounds like it only take you a month to learn, which I would say is about average for somebody who already knows the wheel and had some amount of education and spreads for them to just be able to pick it up like that. Would you say that's true, Ancil? About a month?
Yeah. If you experience, you will be able to pick it up in a month.
Yeah, you're just cleaning up a few loose ends, a few things. There's just like a few things where you're like, oh, I get it now. Okay, so then in February, you went to $11,000. March, 15,260. April, 16,400. So that fall off in the market didn't really touch you at all. That is incredible. I was just like blown away by that. Your average was 12K in your program, Amber. What I did was I took the 3 months that you were really like understood everything, and I came up with that you're averaging 14,300 a month, which is a 250% improvement.
Wow. When you put it that way.
I know, right? It's crazy.
I'm still shooting low. But I think, definitely the techniques that you've taught helped. Covered call, most of that in March and in April were just covered calls.
Yeah.
If you see the slide deck, and it was covered calls on Apple.
Okay, so I'm going to go over to that page because, again, you track your trades and you've got that engineer brain, which I love. There's so many people that are engineers in here or came from that background, and they all track their trades so beautifully. Probably have better spreadsheets than I do. And you have all this data. And so from this data, you've been able to plan a company, which is all laid out in this document, which people can read. So I will upload it to the video so that everyone can see it. And you've got you sort of show which trades are producing the greatest amount of profits for you. And you show that you're going to pay yourself a 7K base salary from this company. The cool thing about the company is you can do these write-offs through it, right? Like you can write off your computer, you can write off your internet connection, you can write off your phone. Awesome idea. And there's just so much good stuff going on. So I'm going to upload this so everyone can kind of read through it and just see how you're doing this. But also you've been able to plan and show, prove to yourself that you can make a certain base level income and that you can plan off of that. Because some people think that's impossible, and it's not. I've been able to do the same thing. So this must feel good.
Yeah, and not only did I plan and see, even on this spreadsheet, this PowerPoint here, you can see what worked and what didn't work and where was and then which stocks I used. And that was an eye opener, and it also told me maybe I'm doing too much in these stocks. So I, in one of our meetings, I said, where can I diversify? And we talked about other, blue chip stocks or value stocks that I can, you earn less income, but you do want some, diversification, right? You don't want all your money in Palantir or
no, you really don't. It sounds like a good idea until it goes terribly wrong.
Exactly.
And it will one day. You want to have some diversification. At the same time, you don't need to trade 15 stocks either. It's sort of like there's a sweet spot of 5 to 8 for me. And then I dabble in a couple others, but I'm not heavy into them. Okay.
Yeah,
and
that was as well in your videos as well.
Yep. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so what else did I want to go over here? So, all right. So you were in the aerospace job, and then once you kind of mapped all this out from doing PowerPoint presentations of your life, I'm going to share the other doc that you had that you gave me in March, which was one of our meeting documents. And you would do these executive summaries of like your portfolio was this amount. You would track your cash and show you how much cash you'd have. You even did the work of figuring out, hey, like if I have a bad month and there's a market downturn that like I can't catch up with in some way, or stocks take off in me, because that can happen too. Where will I be like if I make 20% less? And then is that enough for me to quit my job or not?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. Like people need to do that. People really need to like map out their lives and figure this stuff out if they have a goal. Because I tend to think, and I'm wondering if you think this too, that if you write things down, it's more likely to happen.
Yeah, and for me, it was more about like being an aerospace engineer. You run simulations, you do risk analysis, you figure, all the way we spend so much time on when things are going to break. So me breaking, would be like, oh, we have a downturn in the market and my portfolio drops. I wanted to see what those numbers look like and prepare myself like emotionally. And I started in a down market, so I
Hmm?
was but I think one thing you told me is when you look at your account portfolio, when you have options in play, isn't the value of your portfolio.
Yeah.
It's average assets, so you look richer than you think. These are your words, and then going down, you feel poorer. So there's all the
Yeah.
psychology involved.
Yeah.
But cool. What I discovered is my portfolio went down, but because of the volatility, my earnings actually went up. Um,
Mhm.
and that was nice to see. But then I learned, in the past, like don't overdo it, don't have FOMO. So although I earned a lot in April, for example,
Mhm.
when it was high, I actually in the last 2 weeks of April, I said I'm going to give back my gains to prepare for, hey, what happens when my covered call up, and my covered call goes negative. So I started selling off my covered calls for a loss actually and rolling it up in preparation. Like I didn't want to get stuck. And then I started using some of your strategies to, like get prepared. So now I'm kind of even, and now that the market has swung back up,
Yeah.
I'm still making money, but I'm switching strategies now for bull market and
Mhm.
trying to risk, but still earning, income. And like in March, I bought some leaps, and now, 2 months later, I'm reaping the benefits from the leaps. But I didn't want to allocate any more money in it. So I could have made more money, but I was just okay using what I have and just, riding the storm and the volatility. Like volatility was great. Like
Yeah.
the premiums were so high, you didn't have to do much. And I think you didn't do too much either.
Right.
We had our meetings, you just relax and then too much. So those meetings were good to like help people calm down and, not
Yeah.
try,
Yeah.
not try.
So one of my big things is that I sort of just help educate people about is because we're selling options and buying options with long-term timeframes, anywhere from like the shortest thing we do is a week, right? But a lot of our contracts have like a 2 week to 3 week to even 3 year time period on them. So when the market takes a spin down and it's just like has this massive drop, we don't want to overreact to that and like react immediately because it can bounce up so much. It can bounce up so fast.
Right.
So there's so many things that you just said that I wanted to touch on. And I don't know if I'm going to remember them all, but like you said, your portfolio was overall down and now it's sort of like to where it was before it fell off, which is actually a really great result because we are not at all-time highs. So that shows you that your options income is sort of like kicking in. And as it continues to do so and the market goes up, you'll kick well over that, especially with the amount of income that you're making right now. So that is a really positive sign in my mind. Also, I mean, it's not like we're unemotional when the market sells off, but there's just no reason to freak out because we tend to pick the best stocks on the market and those like to retrace the fastest, which is what we're all dealing with right now, right? Like and I know there's a number of us who love to trade Amazon and we sold like a 200 strike and now it's at 215 and we're like, oh boy. Now what?
Exactly.
Because in the moment, it feels like that's never going to happen. When Amazon hits 165, you're like, oh, if I sell the 210 strike, I'll be fine. There's no way the 200 strike. There's no way
Exactly.
it can go back there. And I always say, just don't let it trick you, because that's why I chill. Like big market movements, I'm just like, I'm not reacting right now. There's time. I have time on my side, and we all do as options traders. So that's always a positive there. So it sounds like you weren't really too freaked out, especially since you had all this income coming in.
Yeah, I wasn't freaked out. I did make some good trades. Like I followed some of your strategies, looking at your, your deck of cards and implement and those worked out really well. Even when, Amazon shot up. And it didn't what was interesting about that trade was Amazon didn't shoot up after earnings. It had nothing to do with earnings because you
Right.
usually you think about earnings and you do certain trades and it was a week after earnings. In fact, I was actually happy that Amazon went down after earnings because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have these covered calls. I don't want it to go into money. So I basically close those out as soon as I reach a certain percentage, whether it's 50%, and I said, okay, let's take a breather. Um, and yeah, those worked out pretty well.
So I'm going through your monthly goals that were in March, and look at what you've done. Okay. You've accomplished some of these things. First of all, you quit your job and you are, in fact, moving to France, which I am just incredibly jealous. But at the same time, I can't go for another few years until my kids get out of high school. And I
Right.
don't want them to leave my house. So I'm trying to enjoy them here too. It's good to always have
Yeah,
something that you like. Okay, I'm gonna love the future and I love right now, but oh gosh. Hashtag blessed. But anyway, so you did that. You started your LLC. That was one of your goals. You've done that now, right? You've applied for your
yeah,
LLC. And you tried using your LLC income to get more of a permanent visa in France. They didn't go for it just exactly yet, but I think with a couple years of
exactly.
history behind you, how can they possibly deny you, right? Like it's a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a little disappointing, but thanks to I think it's a process. You get denied. That was the first time I actually got denied for a visa. I was pretty shocked.
Oh no.
I'm still going anyway and traveling, just going back and forth. But even yesterday, and I think I mentioned in just before this meeting in a message, it's forcing me to think a little bit more about the business and
Mhm.
to uh contribute economically to like another country, for example, like have a business that actually does think, not just pay taxes, but whether it's doing other things like
You're gonna teach people how to trade options in France?
teach people how to trade. I'm starting
That
my
would be
friends
great.
and yeah, and apply for, I don't know, maybe some sort of startup funds or uh,
Uh-huh.
things like that, which I was doing some research last night and I got a whole bunch of ideas. So yeah, I think this process is helping me expand my I guess not my thought process, but my sort of project itself. Like now I really have to think about how to uh earn money as a business, not just earn money from passive income through trading, but how you can do other things, whether it's teaching other people, which I would love to do because I think we see all these other YouTubers say, yeah, you can retire and instead of 2 million, you can retire and, you know, 250,000 or something like that. So I think that'll be beneficial to a lot of people. And there's many ways to do, side gigs.
First of all, I love it that you maybe want to teach in France, because if you can actually teach in French, I can send you some people because my husband's family is French and they always want me to teach them. And I'm like, I don't know how to teach this in French. Like you'd have to Google Translator or something. So it'd be great. I would send them your way. And I know they'd be in good hands because you're probably going to do it a very similar way to me. So that's awesome. And then, yes. Okay. So you are basically, so everyone sort of like, it's really funny. A lot of people who are just worried that I might not be for real or something like that. They're like, well, if you make all this money, why do you teach people? I'm like, well, it's incredibly rewarding. B, like, I feel like whenever I'm in Paris, I could just, call you up for a coffee and you'd meet me anywhere, and that's amazing. You could probably give me some hot tips on where to go, which that's worth its weight in gold, because you'll have
Nice.
insider information. And it's really nice to be able to contribute to someone else's lives. And then people like us that sort of have accumulated a certain amount of net worth, we don't actually want to stop working. We just want to work when we want to work on something that we're passionate about. That's the thing,
Exactly.
don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. It's not about stopping working, but getting time to do different things. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really cool. Like, you know, um, a little less stress and taking care of your health. Those are all things that everyone
Exactly.
talks about.
Exactly. And so, like, what are your plans for here? From here, I know you told me that you love doing aerial drone footage. Uh,
Yeah,
and it's like a really like nice hobby, and you find it very relaxing being out there shooting that. Are you going to like, is it Eritat or something like that in France? Just to shoot the Normandy, the beaches up there, or what are your
yeah.
plans?
So it's funny. My very first drone video was in Normandy with some friends. Um,
Lovely.
I'll send you the link to my website, and that's my other company.
Yep.
So, this one is more official in terms of like EIN numbers and S Corp. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the drone photography is another thing. Now I have some time to be able to do that. So it's another pursuit. It's it it taps into like the creative aspect. So I love like making like videos and adding the music and doing the cuts and
Mm-hmm.
go to interesting places. So yeah, it's gonna be really really cool. I've had a lot of fun doing that for the last year or two, um, and um, and now I get to do that. Also, I get to explore that. So, but going back to like teaching other people, one thing, and
Yeah.
I to you in classes is I want to crack the code and teaching people with a smaller
Smaller
portfolio.
accounts. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I
I hope you
I
do. If you can crack that code, it would be amazing. I think that really, if you have a smaller account, you just have to be more patient. I think you
mm,
can do it, and I think you can
mm,
completely be successful. I started with like a something like a 50K account, and then I was
mhm,
able to up it to like 80K in cash, and then I did really well with that. But I had like that wasn't that that was a long time ago. But where it was a bull market, so you can do great in a bull market. Where you kind of get
mm,
screwed
yeah,
is when it's a bear market or you have this big downfall. And then what ends up happening is because you're trading inexpensive stocks, they aren't as high quality as the high quality stocks because the high quality stocks are usually expensive. So when the market falls off, they crush that much harder and it just like kind of obliterates your account. It's not a permanent thing. Those values will come back. It's just like when you have to go to the sidelines because you're so underwater on a covered call, you're just underwater for so much longer. That's what I've found. So
yeah.
I don't know. There probably is a secret sauce way to do it. I think you could probably do it with the bear call spread, Ansel, as far as your buying method that we use in the class. But I don't know. If you figure it out, tell me. Share it with me. I would love to know. And that would be one heck of a course if you could put it together.
Maybe it's telling people, earn enough for a cup of coffee and don't quit your day job.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Learn
okay,
that.
so so your goals are you going to keep options? You're not trying to like level up. You're just kind of like, so you're making an income, but you make a certain amount of income that you're putting away to invest more in options. Is that what you're doing with the money you make?
So the good thing about having the business is, that money stays in the business. I just pull that
Mhm.
out to pay my bills, but
Right.
I can, reduce, like I said, 7,000, and that was enough. Like that number came from what I needed to like for a rental application. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
income, but that can go down. There's a lot of flexibility. I'm working with ADP, and they're helping me understand how the payroll works, and I can change that. You can do a regular payroll. You can do an owner contribution later in the year. I'm setting up my own 401k plan, so the money I'm earning from
Yeah.
options straight into my own 401k plan, and put money that way and let that
And
compound.
then you can trade covered calls in your 401k. Oh, the
I
compounding. It's making me
I,
so happy right now.
I hope I can. It depends. I haven't said what I can do in the plan yet.
Well, you need to, I will give you a hot tip there. You need to make sure that you get a solo 401k
Mm,
that is
okay.
managed. And when you read the prospectus, make sure of that that you click off that you can trade options in it. Because
Yeah.
I have managed these 401ks for my companies as well. And you need a solo 401k and it would be self-directed. And yeah, you just want to make sure before you even sign up for the 401k, make sure you ask somebody if that's true. That you can do those things before you send in your application, because it's a whole like 6-month process to undo it and then get in the right plan. And just so you know, I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. I've already started, so let's see how it works out, and then I can always switch later on. But it's a learning process. But yeah, I'm glad that you're doing it, so you can advise me and other people too who are listening to this. I hope
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
everyone.
So, okay, so quick recap. So you started in with me in January. You were making something like $5,000 to $6,000 a month. You were a little bit stuck. You were doing the wheel and these call credit spreads that weren't really working out. You sort of learned how to ladder out of those, mitigate risk a little bit better. Learn to take on the trades that were higher profit for you. Master the covered call, which sounds so easy, right? And it is so easy, but
Right.
just overlook it, which they shouldn't.
Mm,
And now you're making something like $14,300 on average. That's something like a 250% increase. You're making drone footage, which you love to do as a hobby, and you're moving to France and you quit your job.
yeah, that kind of sums
I
it up.
can't wait to check in on you a year from now. Yes, can't wait. That just makes me so happy. I hope you're happy, Ansel.
I am. Thank you so much. And for folks that are thinking about it, it's a learning curve, but you got to start small.
Mhm.
And it's a viable way. I think there's many ways for side income. A lot of people do rental properties or affiliate marketing or what have you, drop shipping.
Yeah,
This is actually not that bad, and you gotta invest some time to learn.
I learn.
Yeah,
Once
this
you learn, it's sort of like second nature, isn't it? I mean,
your videos are great.
thank you.
So yeah, so folks should reach out to you and get some help or um
Or
and
learn from scratch. You can also learn from scratch in this program too. You don't have to know anything, but we
that's
are,
true. That's true.
I have two claims to fame. Okay. I can turn around the struggling trader who doesn't know where they're going wrong, and I can teach from scratch. So even if you're advanced, I think that there are also some advanced traders that I have taught who just know that I know one or two things that they want to know and are just going to make them boatloads of cash. So we'll sign up just for that. And I'll just do one-on-one meetings with them and tell them what they're missing. They'll be like, awesome, great, thanks, see you later. So anyway, Ansel, it was awesome to talk with you today. Is there anything else you want to mention, or are we good? Do you think we captured
I
your whole
think
story?
this was great. Thank you
All
so
right.
much for
Thank
to
you. Thank
appreciate
you. Thank you. All right. See you later.
it. Okay, bye.